Let me ask you this question. Let's say right now you wanted to invest in Amazon stock. Right? Does anybody know what Amazon stock is currently selling at? Yeah, you bet you a lot. In fact, see that number? One share of Amazon, $3,224. Yeah, because it's a well-run company that makes profit, right? So the value of the stock, what do you think it's based on, right? It's based on future expected earnings, right? If people expect Amazon to earn money in the future, there'll be more of a demand for ownership of their stock. That makes sense? Okay. But so $3,224. How many of you right now would be able to purchase even one share of Amazon? I didn't want it. You really want it, right? I can't cough up $3,200 for one share of stock, right? So what could they do? Yeah. Huh? We talked about that yesterday, whatever, right? So if what they, it'd be kind of like this. Let me do this. Everybody, here's a stock in my company. Stock that right now is worth $100, right? That's how you own stock. My corporation. Well, we can talk about the name later, right? So let's say you own those stocks, and I decide I want to replace those $100 stocks with these. You can hand me that back. You got $100 of value in your hand, right? I just gave you two. How much value do you have now? Still have $100, right? Why, does that make any difference? Really? You? So you take these two $50 issuances, and I'll take that 100, right? Yeah, there we go. All right. So your value, in other words, notice the capitalization is still how much? Still $100. It's $250. It's almost like, hey, you got change for 20, you get 2 10s, right? Still have the same amount of money, just maybe it's a little more flexible, that kind of thing. So if Amazon decided to, and I'm not sure why they decided not to split at this point, or even last year when it was $1,700, that's some kind of internal decision. I don't know why. If they split that, cut it in half, right, and it's down to like $1,600 a share, would you think more people would be able to purchase it at $1,600 than $32? Right, it would. Maybe not necessarily you guys still. Maybe they need to do like a 3 or 4 for 1 split. So what I just gave you was called a 2 for 1 split. Traditional split, right? I gave you 2 of equal value that 1. Okay, redeem those. So if more people are able to purchase the stock, that creates more demand for it. Wouldn't you agree? And if there's more demand for something, you guys have taken economics, haven't you? No? Okay. What happens when there's more demand for an item? The price of the value goes up, right? Okay, so that's one way a company can increase the value of their shares by doing a split, stock split. It's just one way, right? The best way really is to, through a well-managed operation, you make profits, right? Okay, so that's the idea there. Let's go to page, whatever it is here. 511. Okay. So we discussed, so this is 8-8 stock splits. 8-8 stock splits. And again, remember we talked about the Dow, like $34,000, and how was that the average value of each of those 30 companies, right? Well, they don't take into account the any splits that a company did over the last 100-something years. Because if they did, right, then if they took into account the split, then suddenly one share of a company's stock would be drastically lower in value, right? And would make the Dow number look like it's going down for some reason, right? So they just kept it as the pre-split value, if that makes sense, okay? I'm going to write all that down there. Let's see. But, so, again, if they split, you still are capitalized at the same amount. Understand the term, like capital means like money, right? You're still capitalized at the same amount. I think we can just look at some examples here. Go over to example. Oh, by the way, there's also reverse stock splits they address, and that's not very common. If what I just did with you guys was a traditional stock split, what do you think a reverse stock split would look like? Yeah, you take those two and I'd give you that $100 value back. That would be reverse. Why might a company want to do that? What's that? Maybe. You ever heard of a penny stock? There's penny stocks out there. There's stocks out there that are worth less than $1 in value, right? But a lot of people look at penny stocks and say, geez, thing's only worth 78 cents. Why should I go in and buy a stock like that? It just doesn't seem very valuable, right? So maybe that company wants to do a reverse split, you know, and make it look like it's a $2 per share. Right? Makes sense. And then maybe it's more attractive. It's kind of like that prestige price, you know. You see something expensive in the store that's got to be nice. It's not necessarily true, right? But in your head, right? So it's like prestige pricing, okay? All right, let's look at example one. So what happens with a traditional stock split. Simone, you want to read example one for us?
Instituted a 2-for-1 stock split. For the split, the market share price is $75 per share. Corporation had 749
Johnson.
shares outstanding. What was the pre-split market cap for Starbucks?
So market cap, right? That's the abbreviation for market capitalization, right? That's the total value of all the shares times the number of shares, right? So how are we going to figure that out? They want the pre-split. So before they split it, what was the market capitalization? How do we figure it out? How many shares are there? 749 million shares, right? So 749 million. And what's the value of each share? 95.30, right? And somebody want to do that calculation? See what the market capitalization is? A big number. You get 71379. 700,000. What is that number, by the way? Come on, you guys. $71,379,700,000. That's the pre-split, right? They haven't split it yet, so this is the pre-split market capitalization. All right. So that's the value of all their shares of stock that are issued and outstanding, right? And it's called market capitalization. Do we have an issue with that? Let's take a look at the check for this. And I think example 2 will follow up on it. So in the check, the corporation has a market cap of 24 billion, right? Read that over. And what do they want to know? Okay. So that's the capitalization. How many shares do they have outstanding? And they have 250 million shares outstanding. And they want to know the price for each share. What are we going to do here? Just be like the inverse of what we just did. What are we going to do? You know what? Divide, yeah. Right? If that's the total of all of these put together, you want to know the value of one of them, you divide it, right? So we got to do this giant number. So we do 2, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, divided by 250 million. Somebody push your buttons. $96 per share. $96 per share. Okay. All right. So back up at example 1. Right. Before they split, they have a market capitalization of 71,379,700. Right. And what's going on in example 2 there, Dylan? Read that. Jim. Post split. Okay, so example 2. What was the split? What for what? 2 for 1. Like I just did with you guys, right? So what we need to do is now find the value of each share, right? How are we going to find the value of each share? What is it? What was the post? Oh, no, not the, sorry. They want the post-split number of shares, right? So their number of shares is what? 250 million? So I'm going to multiply, watch what I do. I know it seems redundant, 2 over 1, right? But I want to do it in that format because maybe you're going to have a 3 for 5 split at some point, right? So for the number of new shares, right, I'm going to multiply by 2 over 1. And basically, I'm just doubling that, all right? And what do we get? Come on, you can double 250,000 million in your head, can't you? 500 million shares. That's a lot more shares, right? They doubled their number of shares. Okay. Wait, why do they have that? Oh, was I looking at the, you know what I did? I did the number in the check. Why didn't you guys stop me? You didn't try anything. Jeez. Right, but if you're confused, say something. I can't teach you unless you tell me what you're confused about. Okay. Well, you see how that worked? Let's try it. What is the number we're multiplying? We're back in example 1. 749 million, right? 700. Good gravy. 749. 0, 0, 0, 0. Now tell me what you get.
One, 4, 9, 8, bunch of zeros.
And a bunch of zeros. That's very exact. 1, 4, 9, 8, 0, 0, 0, 0 shares. This is why we do math in pencil, kids. So they now have how many? What's that number? 1,498,000,000 shares. Okay, so a lot more shares of stock out there. All right. I think we can skip the check on here, especially since I don't want to confuse myself. Example 3 follows up on this. Now, let's go to example 3. So they did it, it's the same problem, right? They did a 2-for-1 split, and they went from 749 million shares to 1.498 billion shares, right? What is example 3 asking us to find? The new price per share, right? So it's still a 2-for-1 split, right? It's still a 2-to-1 split, right? So what was the price per share, guys? 95.30. Are we going to multiply that 95.30 by 2/1? What are we going to multiply it by? The reciprocal of that, 1/2, right? Like if you double one side of this thing, you got to cut the other in half. Does that make sense? Or let's multiply by the reciprocal. You flip it, right? So we'd have 1/2 times, God, let me pick the right number, 95.30. 95.30, and what do we get? $47.65 per share. Okay? So it's like when I handed you the 250s, right? The 100 got cut in half. Okay? But what is the market capitalization? Did they even ask that? Okay. Are we still capitalized like we were in example 1? The same amount, right? Because if we take this, right? Let's take this as the new value of each share. That's the new number of shares, right? Let's just check the market cap. See if it's the same. So 1,498 billion, whatever, times 47.65, and what's our market cap? Our post-split market cap. Yeah, you get 71 million or billion, right? What was it? 71,379. 700,000. So is that the same market capitalization as in example 1, right? So this is our post-split market cap. Is it different? It is not, right? So this is what's known as a non-monetary event. Monetary meaning money, right? So when they do a split, it's called a non-monetary event. Cannot spell today. Monetary event. Okay? Because some values changed, but the overall market capitalization did not change. Right? So in the homework problems, they might ask you to show that a certain stock split was a non-monetary event. So you'll show the market cap before the split, and you'll calculate the market cap after the split, and they'll be the same, and then you show it's a non-monetary event. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me give you a quick summary then. So after the split, so the post-split, let's do it this way. Post-split market price versus number of outstanding shares. So let's say we're doing an A for B split, like the other one was 2-to-1, right? So let's say, just in general, it's an A, 4B split, whatever the numbers are. Could be 2 and 1 or 3 and 5. All right. So for the post-split number of shares, what do I multiply by? What do I multiply by? A over B or B over A? Think of the 2 for 1. Number of shares. We get a new number of share, right? So I do A over B times the number of shares. Okay? What about for post-split price? What do I multiply by to get the new price? B over A, right? B over A times the price per share. Right, which is kind of what we were just doing, isn't it? So for the number of shares, you multiply directly by the fraction, the ratio. For the value of the share, you multiply it by the reciprocal of the split number. Right? Okay. I only kind of have that in the book, though. Let's take we'll do one more example. Example 4. I'm going to skip out on the fractional stuff in example 5. That's not too common at all. Carly, would you read example 4 for us, please?
Of course.
It would be nice.
On May 9th, Citigroup Bank instituted a 1 for 10 reverse stock split. For the split, the market share price was $4.48, and there were 29 million shares. What was the post-split share price of the shares?
Reverse split, right? What was it? 1 for 10. 1 for 10. Right? So for every 10 shares you have, they give you 1 to replace the 10 with. Okay? So you have more or less shares? Yeah, well, fewer, right? Use correct English. So they want us to find the post-split price. Let's start with the number of shares. Okay? Let's do number of shares. All right? So based on what they gave you in the box up there, what do we multiply by? 1 over 10 or 10 over 1? 1 over 10 times, what was their number? 29 billion? Is that right? So we do 1/10 of 29 billion. You're going to do, Carly? No. Can you just take a 0 off the end?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Kids with these calculators, just come on.
It was muscle memory.
So it'll be what? 2,900,000 shares. 2,900,000 shares. It's 10, man. Come on. After the reverse split. Okay, what about the price? How about the price per share now?
10 over 1 times.
Well, no. What was the price for each share? 448, right? 448. You want to use your calculator again?
I don't think I do.
I don't think so either. You get 4480 per share. After that reverse split. Right? Well, that's when I guess they probably thought that their share price was kind of on the low side, didn't look very attractive, right? But then maybe you pick up, you get online and you say, whoa, their shares just went from $4 to $45. My God, they're doing something right. You don't bother to investigate that it was from a split, right? They must be making money in over fist of buying it, right? Something like that. I'm gonna pay attention. Okay. Hey, by the way, has their market capitalization changed? Is this, what do we call this event? Non-monetary event. If you were asking your homework to show it was a non-monetary event, what would you do? Find the market cap before the split, right? Shares times price, and then the market cap after the split, shares times price, should be the same number. Okay? Non-monetary event. All right, so that wraps that up. Do we have any questions on this stuff? On stock splits? Regular traditional splits, they give you more shares for every one you had, right? But a reverse split do the opposite. Okay?